Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. I have a few comments, and then basically we're going to turn it over to our star and a much more seasoned interviewer than I am. So let me, first of all, to put this in context, the Twilight meet today, the meet that you're going to see, is kind of the first step towards one of the really cool things that are going on, all the many things that are going on this year at Hayward Field. We're dubbing this perhaps the best season ever at Hayward Field. That's a big thing to say about this facility. First of all, we have a little bit of everything going on here today. We have masters, we have high school kids, we have elite kids, we have world record holder, we have everything going on here today, so it's a really cool thing. And then it's centered around our seniors. It's a pretty impressive group of seniors, as a matter of fact, since every single kid that will be introduced tonight has been a member of the University of Oregon winning a Pac-10 title. Every single one of them has been part of that. All groups of the group of the men and the group of the women. In 2 weeks, we'll have the high school state meet here. In the week after that, we'll have the Prefontaine Classic. 2 weeks after that, we will host the first of 8 years of the NCAA. So, University of Oregon and Hayward Field will be the host place for the NCAA championships. And in the first week of July 5th and 6th, we'll host the USA Junior Championships, which will be the place that will select the team that we came here to probably address here today, and that is the World Junior Championships. Today, the IAAF announced 177 countries that have submitted their entries for the World Junior Championships, which will be held here at historic Hayward Field, July 22nd to July 27th. It's a very, very exciting opportunity for us. We're fortunate here today because we have Otto Boldon here. He's a pretty impressive guy. He's here today in a number of capacities. His capacity for being here today in about an hour is he is going to be the broadcast analyst for the Pac-12 network as they actually broadcast the Twilight meet that we mentioned in a minute. Now, Otto's pretty impressive, so I want to let me make a couple of comments. I'm going to ask Otto 3 questions, all right, and then I'm going to turn it over to him, and he's actually going to run the rest of this press conference. First of all, Otto is actually, in addition to being an outstanding sportscaster and analyst at many levels, what he is, he was a fantastic, accomplished athlete. And as a matter of fact, I think the thing that he is probably going to speak to, we hope today, are these 3 things. He is the IAAF ambassador. The IAAF has chosen 3 athletes, former athletes, to represent the IAAF at the World Junior Championship, and Otto is one of them. So he's going to speak to that and his cohorts. He's also going to speak to his experience at the 1992 IAAF World Junior Championships in Seoul, Korea. Do you remember 1992?
Vaguely.
All right. Where he became the first sprinter to win gold medals in the 100 and the 200. And we're going to also ask him to make a couple of comments about what advice he might give to the junior athletes that will be competing. So I hope you guys will be nice too, and welcome Otto Boldon.
Thanks, Coach. You asked if I can remember 1992. I think for a lot of these athletes that are coming to the World Junior Championships here in a couple months, that is their sort of ramp on their career highway, and they have to decide at that point, am I good enough to keep going and be a pro, or is this pretty much where I exit? I had no clue. I had only started running when I was 16. So for me, they said, hey, this is the meet you have to go to. I knew very little about track and field. I went back home, tried out for my Olympic team, went to Barcelona, stunk up the place, and then was looking for a meet to redeem myself. And they said, okay, well, you got beat up by the big boys. Why don't you go back and compete against the juniors? And I was so upset as I was being called a fraud back home, because they was like, oh, this new kid from the States is back and he's going to be the next Hasely Crawford. And then I went to Barcelona, was out in the first round in both. So for me, the World Junior Championships was, I'm going to show them. And that's why I went and I think created that history, because I really kind of went there with a chip on my shoulder. In terms of the kids going to this meet, my advice to them is to, first of all, have fun, but cherish the friendships that you're gonna make at this meet, because that, in a lot of ways, might be one of the most important things. When I went to that meet in Korea, Amy Acuff, who would become my UCLA teammate, Haile Gebrselassie, my friend to this day, Darren Campbell, who finished second to me in both, still my friend to this day. So it really was the beginning of some spectacular friendships within the sport. But the thing that they have to realize is that the only difference between World Championships, Olympics, and this is basically the age of the competitors. That is the only thing different, and I think that's by design. They run everything just the way it will be run at a championship setting, because that's the point at which you figure out, can I handle this? Some kids get too nervous and they realize, you know what, I was good in maybe high school, but I can't do this at the next level because I can't handle the pre-race nerves.
You have 177 countries. You have kids from 177 countries thinking about this. What would you say about what their experience might be like competing at Hayward Field?
Well, they're getting spoiled. I remember we hosted something in Port of Spain a couple of years ago. I believe it was Pan Am Juniors. And I got a chance to, I was sort of an ambassador there for Trinidad. And I said to the kids, I said, listen, don't let this spoil you. You guys are staying at one of the best hotels in the Caribbean. Every road trip is not going to be like this. These kids that are coming here, whether or not they know it, first of all, it's the first time it's being held in the United States. That's special. We know that. But for the kids, it's like, you're going to get spoiled because the stands are going to be packed. You're going to be running in front of America's most knowledgeable fans. If I had to do my career over, I'd have run a couple more times at Hayward Field. So whether or not they know it, they are pretty much starting at the top in terms of where this venue is. And I hope for their sake, they come away from the United States with a very favorable impression of what American track and field fans are like.
Well, we're excited about it. We're excited that we're going to be, this is the first time it's in the United States. And actually, this is the first time for so many of these kids, they will actually be not only competing in the United States, but they're actually going to come to the United States, and they're going to live on our campus, live in our community. This place is going crazy waiting for this to happen. So at this point, I think what I'll do is open it up. Curtis, you want to moderate this, or you want people just ask questions?
Whoever's got a question, go ahead. Fire away. Just for Ben, how are ticket sales going? Do you have a number as to what you sold so far?
The ticket sales right now, I believe we're at 70% capacity. It's difficult to say because we have so many different groups that are actually purchasing the tickets and are actually handling them. We're handling out of Go Ducks and through our ticket management sales, but we do have the IAAF is also involved in it. So I hear we're at 70% capacity.
What will your capacity be?
We'll probably be about, I think that in the end we'll have about 10,000 will be our capacity.
So that's how many portable seats?
We're not going to build seats anywhere. We're going to have just the east, the west grandstands. We'll have hospitality over on turn 1. We'll have other hospitality up on the top of the weights and measures building and in here. And then we have what we have here in Powell Plaza. So we're going to really do our best to create our team. The Tracktown USA team has done a really great job at creating this excitement down on that south end. And when you see our flag display, which we had to put the flags up of 177
You don't have that for the
countries.
Olympic trials, do you?
No, I think we're going to be okay.
Otto, Ukraine had a very good junior athlete in the high jump at Sopot recently.
Yes.
I was wondering, with their current political crises, have they indicated to IAAF whether they will be here in Eugene or not?
I fully expect them to be. As adults, we obviously have to be concerned with that sort of stuff. I can't think that the junior athlete, even though obviously they would be aware of the realities of the current political climate, I'm gonna bet that somebody from the Ukraine has never been to Eugene, Oregon. So they are looking at it as, hey, get a chance to get away maybe from what's going on here and go visit the States and be able to come back home and tell people, hey, I went to the West Coast United States and I ran in front of, in one of the best venues to run in.
Let's hope so. She's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Then will all 177 nations compete, or do you have to whittle down the list?
No, 177 nations have entered the meet preliminarily. They'll need to put their final entries in, and that's usually about the first week of July. So we anticipate one or two countries will probably not come. Perhaps there'll be one or two more that enter before the deadline, but that's about the number, and we don't anticipate much attrition to that at all.
Will all the events be contested here?
Yes, Ken. Every event will be contested here over 6 days. The schedules are available on our website, so everything's up, Oregon14.com. So all that information is up there. It'll be 2 sessions. There'll be a morning session, then there'll be a break, and then there'll be the evening session. All of the morning sessions will be free admission, and then there'll be a ticketed event in the evening. Really cool stuff on that last weekend. We have this what we're calling Run Tracktown weekend. We've got youth events. These will be kids that'll qualify from around the state. That will happen. We have an all-comers meet. We have a high-performance meet, which will be on Saturday night, and on the 27th, the morning, just in case you haven't had enough track and field, we have the Eugene Marathon on Sunday morning as it leads into the World Junior Championship. So it'll actually finish on the track.
I want to ask you a question now.
Uh-oh.
So you guys are hosting the World Juniors. World Indoors is coming soon. That begs the obvious question. Is this going to be the home of the first World Championships in America?
I would say this, that we have a great deal of interest in putting forth a bid for the 2019 World Championships. We have a long way to go. We have a lot of things to do. It's the United States, USA Track and Field, along with Tracktown USA, has submitted a letter of interest, officially saying that we're going to be putting together a budget for the World Championships in 2019.
What has to happen between now and when you submit that?
And, what would have to happen for us? Well, there are several obstacles, and first one, we do need to be sure that we have the financial backing. The second is to be sure that we have the infrastructure in place, and the third one is to be sure that we can expand the stadium to the minimum requirement of 30,000 people. So those are pretty big. Those are big hurdles. But we.
Steeple chaser.
Yeah.
When you talk about expanding the stadium, are you referring to not just putting up seats around it? Are you talking about actual changes to the infrastructure?
We are looking at changes to the infrastructure. That is correct.
For Otto, based on the entry list and some of the athletes you've seen, what events are you most excited to watch at World Juniors?
Well, of course, my bias is always going to be towards the sprint, but this year it actually makes sense. Because you've had Trayvon Vermel out of Baylor run 10:01 and tied 2 other guys for the World Junior record, I just feel like the United States in particular is due to show who is the next coming. You have the older guys, Gatlin and so on, sort of hanging on. And the reason an old lion hangs on is because a new lion hasn't come up to bite him in the neck. So to me, I am always having to look and see who is going to be the new young cub to come, bite some of these older guys in the neck in another 24 months when the Olympic trials come back here. And that meet will give me a very good indication as to who's that cub.
Do you know anything about the other ambassadors that are going to be? Oh,
yes, my other ambassadors. We are in duck country, but there are 3 Bruins representing the IAAF. Joanna Hayes, the 2004 Olympic gold medalist in the 100 hurdles, and the other one needs no introduction, Jackie Joyner Kersey, the first lady of American track and field. Those are 2. Jackie was one of the reasons I went to UCLA. Joanna is sort of a broadcast protege of mine, so we're all very close, very connected, proud to represent the IAAF, and we're always excited to be in Eugene. So I've already talked to them about how much fun we're going to have up here. The weather is usually better than it is in May, which is a big thing for me being from the Caribbean. So I'm looking forward to it.
You mentioned the World Juniors being here and the indoors being here. Is there a significant
It's extremely significant. Those of us who love track and field bemoan the fact that it is not bigger in this country. The reality is it's not bigger in this country outside of Eugene, Oregon. So the more we can display track and field at its best and in its what we all agree is its best venue, I think it helps to grow the sport. Not to mention there's a perception abroad in Europe and so on that the reason that America has not ever hosted the World Juniors, for example, before is because we don't really care, and we know that's not true. We absolutely love World Juniors and we love track and field. So this hosting this meet here dispels a lot of those rumors, as a lot of those preconceived notions as well.
Since you mentioned, since you were plugging UCLA and the 3 great alums that you have, do you have any predictions for the Pac-12s next week? Which teams are going to win?
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, let me look into my crystal ball here. It's funny, I was thinking on the drive over. They always talk about how you learn so much more in losing than you do in winning. When I was a Bruin and the Ducks were not a particularly big threat to us, I mean, they weren't even a thought. And now that UCLA is struggling and the Ducks have been so dominant, I go, yeah, I do learn a lot by being in this position where UCLA is really having to find kids to come and challenge you guys. I was at the USC UCLA meet this past weekend, and the thinking when you recruit is we have to be able to deal with what's going on in Eugene. So it's interesting to see how in the space of a decade or two that turns around. But it is, as a track and field fan and as somebody who has to be neutral on the air, I am very excited by what I see going on here, and I get it. When I was here the last time, the first meet we did here, when you guys had, who's that meet against?
Arizona,
yeah. And we watched the entire team sort of get into the infield. I mean, you guys were winning the meet by 10 million points at that point, but everybody got into the infield to encourage the 4x4 anchors, and I just nudged everybody in the booth and I went, you talk about team chemistry, there it is there, and that's what everybody else in the country is trying to emulate and strive for.
Hey, getting back to the 2019 bid, do you have a number on hotel rooms? Like, how many more we need to get in this area for that to happen?
It's a complicated question because it's not just hotels. It's a matter of creating the infrastructure to be able to house the large group of athletes that'll be here. It'll be about 1,900 athletes, and there'll be a large number of media. And we will accommodate them not in hotels, but our plan would be not just in hotels, but creating a village. And that's you'll see a little of that for the juniors. We're living, all of the juniors will live on campus, and it'll be 2,500 juniors with their team leaders. And we feel quite confident after the IAAF visited us about a month ago that we can create that. And once we take them out of the hotel inventory, then we actually are in good shape. And part of our plans overall are to take a look at Hayward Field, but we also want to expand our footprint. And for those of us who are Oregonians, we really want the state of Oregon to really own this event. This is an asset that we have in the state, and we believe that it's a valuable one. Just as Otto said, the rest of the world sees the product that we have, the world's #1 team, time and time again, and here we have it. So we have a state, Oregon, that cherishes that, values it, and has always supported it. So this is an opportunity for us to really take a step forward and puff out our chest and really say, we believe in track and field and we want to try to make this happen.
And Coach, it's very significant too that when the rankings come out of all the Diamond League meets on a yearly basis, I mean, Prefontaine is so you guys almost have that standard to live up to where it's like you can't have the Prefontaine and all the other fantastic meets that you have here and then not do a great job with the world. So I understand why those hurdles are high for you guys because, I mean, let's face it, this was not a stadium that was ever designed to hold an entire, country, entire globe.
And it's something that we've been fortunate in that we've been working with, with USA Track and Field, and I think that they have, along with the USOC, that's been where this discussion has really been encouraging, is talking to those entities, because honestly, if we want to do something big for the sport of track and field, it's not just Eugene, Oregon that can do it. As you said, it needs to be an entire country. So every potential group that has a stake in our sport, like for instance, I'm quite vocal on it, the USOC needs to get behind this bid. They need to get behind the bid. USA Track and Field is already behind it. The state of Oregon needs to get behind it. And anyone who supports the entire Let's Move project by Michelle Obama, all the things that people talk about, here's an opportunity to take a sport which is about running, jumping. Yeah, this is it, and it's an event that we can really get behind.
Can you go into some of the security involved for this event? Who's advising? What kind of things are being involved? Changes that are going to happen in the area to secure the athletes from outside and even internal, considering there is political disruption going on in the world?
This is for the World Juniors?
Yeah.
Well, we have a fantastic team. We have a collaboration from the city of Eugene, from the University of Oregon, from all the from TSA. We have a bunch of different groups that helped us put on the Olympic trials and host all the other events here. So they've been advising the Tracktown staff about what should be done and what are the requirements and how we make, because it's a priority for us to keep our athletes and our teams and all the other spectators safe, and we feel quite confident that we have good advisors on this.
Any other questions? All right, point of reference, Ukraine is on the entry list. Or high jump.
Great. Well, we appreciate everybody coming. Thanks, Otto, for joining us and for being an ambassador. I know you're going to be great. And there are refreshments here before you go down and catch the twilight meet and have this emotional connection to all these seniors who are going to be recognized today. Please help yourself. And Otto's here for one-off for a few minutes before he has to head and do his work. Thanks.